is Disneyland Effect Immersive Set Design. How many of you do large one-room Sunday school? Anybody in here do large one-room Sunday school with bunch of kids? Okay. All right, and then some of you guys are stopping me. Some of you guys do smaller classrooms, right? Yeah. Okay. So most of what I talk about is through the context of the larger room Sunday school, but it certainly applies to the small room. Our Sunday school, I have a handout, by the way, too, in the folder. It's about midway in there, I think, somewhere. Has a bunch of common stuff on. So I have, and this is a somewhat interactive class. I'm not coming up on stage, but I'm going to ask for some ideas. So, but in our Sunday school, we do ages 5 through 11, and we have about 10 staff. We do big sets, immersive sets. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. Talk about some of the things we've done. Talk about the ideas. So that's kind of the filter that I'm coming through, just to kind of give you the idea. But we'll talk about some ideas. So first thing is Idea Factory. Here's $1 million. What will you do? So I'm a big proponent of collaboration, and I like to get people involved. And I do a lot of things myself, and I have a lot of ideas myself, but I like to get other people involved and collaborate, because sometimes they might have a terrible idea, but it gives me something to work with. And other times they just have fantastic ideas. But one of the things I started doing this a long time ago is, I'm a youth leader as well, and so I do this in youth. But one of the things I started doing is I might have to up this now with inflation, but I say, imagine that you had $1 million. And what this does is it helps take the lid off. Because if you ask somebody, well, what do you want for your Sunday school set, your decor? A lot of times people start thinking of things they've seen before. Sunday schools they've seen. Well, I saw Brother Booker's Sunday school online. He's got an awesome one. But I saw this set, or I saw, this VBS thing, or whatever. And so when I say, here's $1 million, what we do, it takes that to the next level. So people have asked me, are you guys kind of like VBS? I said, we're VBS on steroids. So, because we approach it like that. So there's many things that we haven't done yet that I want to do. And so it was really neat because I had written a list on my phone. I don't know, it's been a couple years ago. And I had just kind of random, I did a brain dump. And so I wrote randomly some things that I wanted to do. So a few of them were, I wanted to do a waterfall with real water. I wanted to do a waterfall. Another one was I wanted to do a slide. I've done several slides, but I wanted to do a slide that went through a wall. And so when you landed on the other end, you were in a different room. I wanted to do a zip line. We kind of have a big space. I wanted to do what else was it? Oh, I wanted to do what do you call it? The bridges, the bridge you walk over that's kind of, it's like a rope bridge, but it has wood slats and it's rickety and all that, the Indiana Jones or something. So anyway, so I looked at this list. Well, I've done a lot of those things. There's still something I need to do, but we did a slide, and it was in a spy theme, and this slide, hey, you can't be.
I'm sorry, I can't see you, but the water's so bad.
We did a slide where it went into another room. So that was really cool, and we've done several waterfalls, and so we did some of those things, and it was kind of neat. I found the list. I was going through my phone. I know I should be, real organized and read it every year or something, but I just found it, and I was like, oh, we did that. No, we still need to do this. So it was kind of cool. So so here's what I'd like for you to do. Hopefully everybody has a writing utensil of some kind. So if you have a pen, you can scribble it all over that outline, or you can do it in notes. But I would like, and if you share a little bit, that'd be cool too. But write down, what if you had $1 million for decor? What's a few things you would do? What would you do?
Disney?
What?
For like Sunday school?
Yes, Sunday school decor. Talking about sets, yeah. Your house, yeah. A garage, a new garage. Don't be scared. You got any willing to share one? What's an idea of, maybe it's ridiculous and maybe I can tell you how to do it.
Maybe like a carnival theme.
Okay, carnival theme, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'd have
That's
like
awesome. All right.
good puppets, a popcorn machine, cotton candy, maybe like
Yeah.
a little roller coaster.
Yeah, see if you had $1 million, you'd probably get the roller coaster thing going.
Just get a little bit, maybe like a zipper line, you know, when that goes things in place.
So I'll tell you just really quick, just since it's kind of specific, but I'm a youth leader as well. So I, for a while, I think I did it 3 years in a row. We do a kickoff in January, and then the very first youth night after kickoff, we do it on Friday nights. I did a carnival, and so we have a building that's 50 by 60, and it's 2 stories. And so the upper story, the side wall, the side before you get to go into the peak, I think is 12 feet, and then it goes to the peak, which is like 16. So I have a lot of room, and so I created a carnival. My wife had done a kids' day a long time ago, so she bought a bunch of stuff, and this is for 12 and up. But we did a carnival, so we did. They came in, had music blaring, and then I had like a bubble machine blowing in their face. So they come up the stairs, and then I had all these booths. I had a Target booth, had the darts with the balloons, and then my son had one of those basketball hoops that you can roll around wherever, so I borrowed that from him without telling him, brought it upstairs, and then I taped off the floor so it had a key and everything, so we had a miniature basketball court, and then I made a dodgeball arena. I got that, that construction fencing netting that you can see on the side of the roads. I got a bunch of that so it contained the ball, so I got that. Man, you guys. So I got that, it would contain the ball. So anyway, so we did a carnival, so it can be done. It can be done. Okay, any other ideas, really quick? $1 million. Yes, $1 million.
I'd like to do like an adrenaline day.
Adrenaline day, tell me more about that. That sounds cool.
Yeah, like you jump off really high things, like bungee jumping, or like go really fast, or I don't know, like something, like I do a lot of young boys, so anything that is like fast and dangerous.
See, you're giving me ideas now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's awesome.
Yours sounds like it will cost about $1 million.
Yeah, you said I had a lot of money.
Yeah, that's good. No, that is really good. See, that's one of the things I want to do. I haven't done yet, and the jumping off high things when we think of it is I want to do a slide. I want to do a slide that's like a diver slide that comes down and catapults you into a foam pit.
That would be so
So
cool.
I want to do that. I'm building an indoor playground right now. We'll talk about that in a second. But and it has a slide, but it's not like that. So okay, let's keep going on the outline a little bit. We're going to come back to some of that stuff. But so step into another world, immersive set design. So here is what I try to do with sets, and I'm referring to as sets, decor, however you want to say it. If we were doing this room, what I will do often is I'll walk into the door, and I'm not that tall, but I'll walk into the door of our space when we're getting ready to do a new set, and I go like this right here, so I can be a kid, and I just look at the room and I start thinking. And so I start thinking in the context of whatever that new theme is going to be. So I'll use space just because we just finished one, a space theme. And so we do themes that are 16 weeks long. And that we do it that way. We used to do it a few different ways. We did that for a long time, quarterly, and that's 13 weeks. We do it 16 weeks, so we do 3 themes. Part of that is cost. And so we do 16-week things. But I kneel down, I'm looking at the room, and I'm thinking, okay, this is space. And one of the things I like is first impressions. So when a kid walks in, I want it to progressively get better, But when the kids walks in, I want them to, and this is the immersive part, I want them to step into another world. So I want them to go from, we have concrete stairs, they're interior, but they're concrete stairs. I want them to go from the concrete stairs, unless I design that too, but I want them to walk into that room and be like, whoa. And so usually what I'll do, now this last thing I did a little different, but usually what I'll do is they walk in and section kind of to the left, they walk in and it's big and it's open for whatever I'm doing. And then this side, there might be the outside of whatever vehicle we're using, in this case a spaceship or a pirate ship or whatever it might be, or the base, you know, or army or something, you know, whatever. And so, and then they go inside and there's details in there. But I want that first impression when they walk in to be this wow factor. So that's what I talk about immersive. That's what I mean. And so there's an example. I wish I had a screen to show a bunch of things, but I don't. So an example on this space theme, and this kind of ties into the next thing, which is the Disney Land effect, sensory overload. So on this last space theme, you walked up the stairs, and what I had done is there was this long tunnel, and it wasn't really that long, but I made it as long as I could, and I wanted to look long. So we did this tunnel just out of plywood or whatever. We had the room to do that, and so I framed it up with plywood up until you couldn't reach, and then I just did styrofoam. I did the styrofoam with the silver backing on it, like you get at Home Depot, and so it was shiny. And then what I did is I was like, man, I want lights like in the floor, but how can you know, you're gonna walk on the floor. So what I did is I went and got plexiglass, and I got some pretty thick plexiglass and cut it, which took a long time, it was very difficult. And then I got plywood on the floor, and so it was however thick, and I got the plexiglass, and I put LED light, just really thin strips, put it on the carpet, put it in there, and then put the plexiglass on top of it. And then I laid down this blue, it's like a wrap for HVAC, but it's blue, and I laid that down on the floor, cut out the lights, so I had 6 lights in there, so it glowed. And so then, so we had that, and then I did, on the bottom, I did plywood that was like at an angle, just to give it this cool view, because I kind of wanted this feeling, you know, like a stop sign. So when you go in, it's like this spaceship tunnel. So we did that, painted it all, so we had like a blue, in fact, you know Nerf guns, the little darts? So I'm colorblind, but I was like, man, we need some cool colors. And so my daughter and her friend were like, I was telling them, I said, I was thinking bright orange, I want bright orange and something. So they found one of those Nerf bullets laying up there, and they're like, what about this? Like, okay, yeah. So they went and matched it, you know, at the store. And so we did those colors, blue and orange, and then there was white, you know, walls. And then I found some cool LED lights on Amazon. They're strip lights that you can program them. And so when you come up, we were really big on sound effects. So we have a track playing with sound effects. I think I had it up. This might be kind of hard to hear, but can you guys hear that? So this is playing. It's just random voices, and there's some music that starts. And, so this is playing. They come up, and there's these lights that are shooting. They kind of, you know, on both sides, and they're going down on the end. So this is playing the whole time to kind of give it that atmosphere. And so they walk into that, and then. And this is where the collaboration comes in. I was talking to some of my team, and I was like, I want to do a door that opens like this. And I was like, so I want to figure out something. I don't know. I said, you know, maybe we have a staff person and figure out some pulleys, and they can pull it. And like, but that wouldn't be as cool. I said, I really want something like an airlock type idea. So we have one guy that's pretty handy, and he went to a junkyard, got a window motor, and some of the cabling for a electric window. And we cut out, what we did is we cut out 2-inch thick styrofoam, and we cut it we cut it so it had like this jigsaw look to it, 2 halves. And then we glued really, really thin plywood. The idea was to keep it really light. Glued really thin plywood onto it, painted it so it was gray and white, it looked like metal. And then we hooked it up so there was a switch on the wall, and it would and open and close. So it was cool, one of the neatest features. So you walk down that, and because I wanted it to be so long, you actually ended up walking in up front, and then you'd go back and go sit down. And so, and then inside what we did is we created, I wanted it to look big, and so we did really big, tall stuff, one color, and then we did some like orange striping. And then on one side, I went and got some carpet tubes, the cardboard that's in the middle of a carpet roll. So I went to a carpet place, and I'll talk more about those. Those are really cool, and they're free. So I went and got a bunch of them, and we painted them silver, and I put them together, and so we had like, they looked really long, but it was whatever the length of that is. So it was probably about 15 feet tall, and they were bright, shiny silver, and so they looked like pipes. And then we took plexiglass in the walls and cut in, so it was about this deep. And I bought some pictures off of Amazon that you normally put them on the just on the wall, and it looks like a window, like that you're looking out into space with planets. So I did that, but it was kind of having a 3D effect because we cut that out, we painted the sides white, and we put it back, and then we put LED lights right on the front where you couldn't see them, but it was glowing blue. And so it looked like you were looking, there's some depth to it. So the plexiglass is here and the picture is back here. So it was pretty neat. So you could, walk in, you could see that and the sound effects. So, and then we did, the back wasn't really space, probably could have done a little bit more, but I just wanted to do this because it was really, really neat. We have a guy that works at a storage facility, and he had a bunch of boxes all the same size. They weren't even built. They were flat boxes, but they're about this thick and maybe about that wide and that long. So they're really small. But the unique thing was they were for frozen fish. So they had all these little holes about this big, these little eyelet holes. So it was like, I don't know, maybe 3 rows of 3 or something in every box. So this took a massive amount of work, but what we did is we laid them all down. I drilled holes in the sides of the boxes, and I took an LED strip light and ran it through all of those. And I had to like cinch it up tight, and close all the boxes, and then we had to carefully pick it up because the rows were 20 feet long. We'd have to carefully pick them up, and so we had, in the back, we had 8 feet tall, we had all of these boxes, we painted them black, and they had all these holes in them, and then I got the strip lights that were in the remote control, and they would kind of just do this fade. So across all these little holes, you could see this light just kind of fading, and you could do it crazy too, but this light would kind of fade across and everything. So it was really neat. That would just go on the whole entire time that we were doing whatever script we were doing. So that's the latest set we did, and that's kind of the idea of what we do for everything. We do something where it's completely immersive, where we walk in, and then on the other side, when you go out of the spaceship, so when we do missions or whatever, I built a maze. I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, how you can do that. But built a maze they go into, so they went into this maze and they had all blue LED lights. And then I did, when you come into this open area, I bought a big scene setter. It's actually a billboard, and so it was 14 feet by 40 feet, and so it is huge, So you walk in, and they had space like we designed. We got a basic design, and then we added some planets, some asteroids to it. So when you walk in, it's life size, it's huge, it's bigger than life. It's just huge. And so we had that, and then we put some lighting. Okay, so there's a bunch of ideas there, but most of that is just for concept. Now, I'm trying to decide if I should move forward. Okay, I think what I'll do before I get into the 3 latter points there, I think I'm going to talk about some of these specifics 4 ideas. No, I won't. I just sorry. Okay. Behind the curtain, staff, costumes, and props. We have the luxury of a permanent space. I know many people don't, and I am going to talk about that. That's what pop-up set design is all about. But we have the luxury of permanent space. So what we've done, we had a unfinished building for a long time, and it was actually kind of cooler when it was unfinished because we could do all kinds of stuff. But now it's got sheetrock and carpet and all that. But we built a permanent backstage. And so I have a wall, it's semi-permanent. It's not sheetrock, but I got some plywood on it, it's painted and everything. So we have this backstage area, and there's a couple ideas with that. We have a staff of roughly 10. We have like 30 staff, but we rotate and we have about 10. And so, on a Sunday. And so there's a couple things with it. Is one, practicality, because we do full-on costumes, and we do a lot of costumes. Our segments are average 2 or 3 minutes per segment, and it's usually full costumes for every single segment. And so there's a lot happening. And then also, I want our staff to feel valued. And so we have, now this is a cool space, and I understand not everyone has this luxury, but we have a couple of doors, we have 2 doors on each end. You come back and it's got soundproofing on the walls because they're loud back there. And then I have a guy's locker and a girl's locker. I actually built lockers, and it looks cool. There's lighting in there and stuff, and so they go into, there's mirrors, and so they go in there and they can change, and there's no door. It's just like a run. You can walk back there, and it has the thing so you can't see it, you know. And then there's my daughter actually is the wardrobe manager, so there's a costume room right in the middle that is like kind of her domain, and it has all the costumes and props in that room. And then she'll, every Sunday morning, right after practice, she'll be putting the costumes in the appropriate lockers. And then on the end, we have like a actors hangout, I guess, but while they're waiting for their next segment. And then I buy snacks just for the staff, you know, so they have, we have a little mini fridge, Red Bull, and whatever in there. So it's really neat. They come back there and they feel God. They feel like it's cool. So that's a lot of the things that happen backstage. Now, part of the set, this is about set design, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but part of the immersiveness, the immersiveness of a set is costumes. What time are we supposed to go to? 3:40. Okay. Oh, okay. All right, we're okay. So, oh, she's leaving. She's like 3:40. I'm out of here. So, part of immersive is costumage, and so we're really big on costume. Like this space thing, we bought silver spacesuits, and it took a while, but I found silver skirts too, and we did hats for the guys, and the girls are always doing their hair, so we did visors for them. But they all match, and then we got the glasses that look like it has graphics on them. They light up, and very, very uncomfortable silver space shoes that light up, and they hurt really bad, but they look super cool. I bought a suit. It's a black suit with a bunch of mathematic stuff on it. You can buy it from, I think it's Oppo Suits or something, but if you look on Amazon, you can find it. And it actually fit pretty good, so it was kind of cool. So costumes is a big thing for us, and all of our Bible stories, they're usually not theme related, so they won't follow the space theme, they'll just be biblically related. So all of our Bible stories, we have costumes for those that are transcendent themes. And then props. So props goes right along with, a lot of people refer to props in set design. When I say props, I'm talking usually about handheld things. I'm not talking about so much like a big rock over here. That's part of set design in my vernacular. So props are things that fit within it. So we had these big, our school, our Christian school, she gave, the principal, she gave them to me because I had no use for these, but the last day of school last year they did a big squirt gun fight. So she had these big super soaker squirt gun things, and they're colorful. She gave it to me, so I was like, oh, those are space guns. That's what those are. And so we had some space guns. And so, like, you know, when we were doing pirate themes, of course, we always have swords, but we had to get the curved swords. And so just getting those things, and usually a lot of that stuff's cheap. And a lot of the costumes now, our staff will get into, they'll buy their own, you know, I'll give them a theme, or if they get the script and they know what character they're gonna go all out, you know, build their costume. I mean, I've had some of them spend a lot of money on their own costume. So, okay. Pop-up set design. Amazing sets that come down each Sunday. We used to not have a permanent space. We call it, it was a fellowship hall at the time, and it was probably this room, about maybe a little smaller than this room. So about the back row of chairs, roughly there was like a counter, and then there was like a little kitchen area. It's all being remodeled now, but that's what we used to have, and it was a finished area, carpet ceiling, maybe this high. Actually, I think it was even lower. And it wasn't a drop ceiling, it was an arch ceiling. So that was our space, and it wasn't permanent. And so a long time ago, let's see, about 13 years ago, I think, our pastor, who was not pastor yet at the time, decided that we needed to change our Sunday school format. So we used to have a very traditional Sunday school format. Not that there's anything wrong with it, it's just for us, we wanted to change it. And so we had broken out in ages, and so we had very small, and there wasn't a lot of focus on Sunday school. I mean, sure, the teachers, I'm sure they were focused, but as a church. So we changed it up, and we still have some younger classes, but we have 5 through 11. And we did, anybody ever heard of Kids Power Hour by Pentecostal Publishing House? Anybody ever heard of that? Heard of that? So it's, if you're looking for curriculum, or even just to get some ideas, it's good. It's a good, the lady, I can't remember her name, but she's passed away, the lady that wrote most of them. It's Kids Power Hour, and it's designed for an hour, and they have some really good stuff. We started with that. We started with, I think it's, I can't remember, it's a boat, I know that. And so, now right out of the gates, they have like, you know, designed to set up a boat in a corner or whatever. Well, we kind of went extreme, and so we got some plywood, and we created some curved, you know, plywood and stuff. And so we made our boat probably to that operable partition there, about from there to here, and about this big. It was big enough so all the kids could get in. And so we had the boat, so we would set this up on Saturday night. So we had this boat, and we had it figured out where we had it in these 4x8 pieces. And one way you can do something like this that's very mobile, is with hinges. And so we would put the halves of a hinge on each side, so they fit together, and you drop the pin in, and it holds it there. And so we've done that with a lot of different walls, where we need length, but we need mobile. So then you just pop that hinge, the pin out, don't lose it. Pop the pin out, and then carry your pieces off, you know, when you break down. But anyway, so we did that, and then we bought some of those, I guess they're ficus or whatever, those little trees, you know, that you can get. We went to Michael's, I think, and they had some kind of discount, and then they had a teacher discount, whatever. So I actually took our bus down there, and I bought like 20 trees. I had them loaded up, probably looked like a bunch of pot or something, I don't know, but I had them all loaded up in the bus and brought them back. So we had these trees, and then we bought, you can go to Home Depot, they have, there's tan drop cloths they use for paint, but they're tan color, so it looks like sand. So we took the sand, and we would drape it around the trees, and then we didn't want to spend the money on, I'm getting ahead of myself on the next thing, but we didn't want to spend the money on coins, and so we cut out cardboard and painted them gold and made our own coins. And kids weren't using them anyway, it was just for decor. But anyway, so you walked into the room, and we had the boat, we had some of these trees, and then we had mounded up something underneath, and we put those tan fabric down. It was an island, and then we took those gold coins and spread them all over, and we had a treasure box, and it was like it was spilling out of the treasure box, and we had all those gold coins, and that was in the corner. And then we took, that's kind of what we started with, and we had a bubble machine, and then we had costumes. We had somebody with tickets. You had to get a ticket to get on board, and so they came in, got a ticket, and get on board. Well, then we advanced, we found some blue plastic, which I can't find anywhere anymore, but we found some blue plastic, biscuit. We spread it all over the floor, and then a guy took some boards about this big, and a bunch of them, and took, I think it was fire hose or something, on the back, screwed it on there, so this could roll up. And you could roll it out, and it looked like a boardwalk. So the kids would walk on the boardwalk, and on this blue, you know, underneath, don't fall off the boardwalk. So that's how we started with Kids Power Hour, and you walk on, and then we did the whole script that they had. They're designed in 13 weeks. Yes.
Do you have any pictures?
I don't have pictures of that one, but I do have pictures.
Okay.
So I was just telling somebody here on my phone, I'll show you some pictures, but on my phone, I have 16,108 videos and photos on my phone. I just recently, before I came here, I made a Sunday school album. I still got to break it out by theme. But in my Sunday school album, I have 2,200 and something. But we can go through some of those that I can show you after. But that was a pop-up set design. So that went up on a Saturday night and came down on Sunday after Sunday school. Right after Sunday school, we were breaking down. And so we did that for years. And I've heard people lament about not having perfect space, and I understand. I do, because we're in the position where we do now, and it's amazing. It's awesome. And it takes a lot of work. At that time, we had a crew, and so I had somebody, they were staffing Sunday school too, but they were in charge, and I didn't really have to touch it too much after we got the design. But they had a crew that would come and set up on Saturday nights. And so we thought of ideas to make it fun. I mean, we didn't do this every Saturday, but sometimes we'd buy pizza and make it cool. And sometimes we'd do different stuff. But they got it down. Then he got it to where he was trying to see how fast they could do it. And so they would set it up in 2 hours or an hour or whatever it was. But it probably would always take at least an hour of a crew of at least 5 people. They would set that up. And then after Sunday school, it would take a little less time to take down, but we would take down. And so most of our sets, we would have that blue plastic again, and it would billow a little bit, and we would cover the entire ceiling with thumbtacks. My thumb would hurt so bad, but we'd use thumbtacks. And the entire ceiling would be covered in blue. The next thing we did after that boat was hot air balloons, also from Kids Power Hour. And so we made our own. We had these flexible pipes, and we wrapped it in cloth that was painted. It looked like a balloon, hot air balloon. So these were all pop-up set designs that were designed to go up. Now, one of our memorable one, 2 of our memorable ones is, this might be controversial, and sorry if it is, but we did Narnia. And so we did Narnia in our set, and it was in a small place like this. And so we basically built, I can't remember how it was, but some way we had it divided down the middle. One way we've done a lot of that is by tacking to the ceiling, and it's just cloth, it's like sheets. But I don't think we did it for that thing. But anyway, we had something where it went down the middle. So we had the house, I don't know if everybody here knows Narnia, but we had the house on one side. And does anybody not know Narnia? Okay, you're not familiar with Narnia. So in a nutshell, they go into this other world, these kids, they're in a house, there's a wardrobe, and they're hiding in it, but they end up stepping into this other world, talking animals and all this stuff. And the whole Narnia series is kind of an allegory of the Bible. And so, anyway, so that's it in a nutshell, a very small nutshell, but that's it. It is a series of 7 books. So we were just doing the first one, but we had the house, and so we built this wardrobe. And I think that it did not come apart, and so it was kind of heavy, but we built this wardrobe, and it had a false back on it that we could hang on. And that was really cool, because when Lucy first goes into the other side, we just kind of lifted up, and she slid in, and we put it back down, and then we opened it up, and all the kids are looking, she's gone. And there's a back on it and everything. They're like, what in the world? So it was like a magic trick. It was really cool. It was super cool. And so, I think I have a couple pictures of that one, but, and then we got a ground fogger, a cheap one, but we got a fog machine that you put ice in, and that helps keep the fog low. And so we did that. So when you went over to the Narnia side, the house side wasn't quite as cool, but when you went over to the Narnia side, we had a lamppost. Our electrician made it to where the battery operated had a light in it. And so we had a lamppost, and it was the first time I had bought billboard type scene setters, which is a heavy vinyl. And so I bought those from Brooklyn, New York. And so I had a snowy landscape, and we had that ground fog. So when you walked in, there was all this fog laying on the ground, and we had a big snowy scene setter. So it was really neat. Then we used flexi pipe, and then I think we just got the cheap brick scene setters, and we used that for Tumnus's cave. It's a cave with this, I can't remember what they call them, goat man. Anyway, so we had that, and so that, again, it was all pop-up, it could be collapsed. So that was a cool one. And then Pirates, we did a Pirates and Navy. So the Pirates and Navy, what we did is we had a plywood that we had painted. One side was like a gray, and then we did some bolts, looked like bolts, so it was like steel. And then the other side was orange, and made like a dingy orange, like a wood. And so in that theme, it went back and forth. So it wasn't necessarily every other week. It just, according to the script, sometimes it was 2 weeks in a row. But the kids would show up, and sometimes they'd be going on to the pirate ship, and then other weeks they'd be going on to the Navy ship. So we had this script of basically what happens is a sailor gets kidnapped. He's a kid. He gets kidnapped by the pirates, and ultimately he wins over the captain at the end. So anyway, so that was a cool script. But what we would do is we would lay whatever kind down for the plywood, and then we had some walls, and we had some rails that we made. They were about this tall, but they were just clamped to the top. And so it made a pirate ship or the Navy ship. So you can do amazing sets that come down every week. You can make it look really, really cool. In fact, on that particular one, the pirate one, I remember a guy came back with his child, and we were getting everybody in. He came in, and then he like abruptly left. He abruptly turned around and left, and so I was like, I thought something was wrong. So I kind of caught him out on the sidewalk. I said, hey, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna go get my wife. This is amazing. So he went into the sanctuary and got her out, brought her back. So it was kind of cool. All right, so last 11 minutes here. Creative ideas. Here's $50. What would you do? So we talked about here's $1 million. What would we do? So I do that exercise with my staff to take the lid off and get ideas. Like, what's some crazy ideas we can do? I want to do, they call it a dark ride. I want to do a ride like you see at Disneyland, like a little, not a roller coaster, but like a ride where you go through and there's animatronics. Someday, somehow I'm going to do that. But anyway, so that's one of the things I want to do that's like in the $1 million idea range. But $50, what will you do? So I want to give you just a few ideas. There's so many that we don't have time to go through the specifics, but I want to maybe giving you some of these ideas will spawn other ideas. But you can write down a few if you want to, but the cardboard tubes. Okay, I talked about those cardboard tubes. Those are free, at least in Washington. And they're usually just trying to get rid of them. So I went to the carpet store and said, hey, you got cardboard tubes? There's sometimes when I go there I have to make a couple trips because they'll only give me 10 or whatever. So, but you get those cardboard tubes, they're 12 feet usually, because the cardboard roll is usually 12 feet. And so they're 12 feet, you can cut them down, you can whatever. But what I've done with them mostly is they make great trees. So what I did with the theme, I can't remember, I think it was an Army theme, but we did trees. And so now we were able to screw into the floor, so if you're not, you have to do something else. But what we did is we did here's how you could do it, is you could do a plywood base that's kind of big, so it's heavy enough to hold it. A plywood base, and then just a 2x4, something that will fit inside of that tube. Those tubes are, roughly this big. Something that will fit into that, screw it in, so you have this base and maybe a 4-foot tall piece. So you have a base and this piece of wood sticking up. And then you can take that cardboard tube and slide it over. So this is, whether it's a pop-up set or permanent, and you slide it over. So then what we did is we had, we drilled holes in it up about, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet. We drilled a bunch of holes going all the way up to the 12 feet. And then we got real branches. So we went out and cut them, got real branches, and we stuffed them in there. We got cedar so it would last a while. Excuse me. And it was kind of cool because as we were putting them in, those little, they're not leaves, but what do you call those cedar things? I can't remember. Anyway, a bunch of them fell on the ground. Well, we just left them there because then it just looked like forest. So we did a bunch of those, and then one thing that was cool is we did a slide that was right through them, so you were sliding through the trees. But we did a bunch of those. So that's, you can use those carpet tubes for all kinds of stuff, round stuff. I'm getting ready to experiment with some ram board. It's a cardboard that you lay down. I'm trying to make bigger trees that are collapsible. So maybe next year I'll talk about that because I haven't done it yet. So that's an idea. Another idea, and maybe you've heard of this, but it's the brown building paper. So if you go Home Depot, one of my favorite spots, go to Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever, and you get that brown building paper. It's like $12 for a roll or something. And we did a Coliseum, for example, and this was not a pop-up set, it stayed, but we did a Coliseum. We rolled out the paper, whatever length we needed, and you take it and just crumple it up as tight as you can, just crumple that paper all up, and then smooth it back out. As soon as you do that, just that, we did more, but just that, now that can be like a stone rock wall. So just doing that. We did that, and then I made a large brick pattern, and we put it down on there, and then I took some spray adhesive, and I sprayed it on there, and we had dirt and sand, like just real dirt and sand, and we'd sprinkle it on with that pattern on there. So we had the pattern just laying on there, a cardboard, you know, I just cut it out. And we sprinkled it on there, and we let it dry a little bit, and we take it and shake it off. It was a mess. Take it and shake it off, and then they had those patterns, but it was really subtle. The brick pattern was really subtle, and it was dirty. And then we took that and stapled it to we did a Coliseum frame, so we stapled it to that. And so, and then it went up like 12 feet. So it looked really cool. So that's a cheap way to do, I mean, you could do this whole room, and it would totally change it. When you walked in, you could, if you're doing a Western theme, if you're doing a castle theme, whatever, you could walk in and have that. So, and then there's another thing that's cheap like that. Oh, painter's plastic. So painter's plastic is pretty cheap. It's a really, really, really thin plastic. But we've done it on ceilings, and blue is cool, but I can't find it anywhere. But just clear, and you can add lights above it if you have the room to do that. But just adding that plastic, it gives it. It's not a ceiling anymore. It's a clouds. You know, it gives it a different feel. So just not stretched out. I'm talking about it's billowing a little bit. You know, it's down. And then when the doors open and stuff, it moves and everything. Okay, here's something. We're almost out of time. Here's something in effects. So to do a storm of some kind, if you can get a bunch of fans, or what's better is like a blower, like either a carpet dryer thing or a bounce house blower, or like the thing for the air dancer out there, some kind of blower that's more heavy duty is better. And so we've done this where, and in fact, one guy, he had a battery operated weed, or not weed thing, but the blower, sidewalk blower. He brought that one time. That was kind of funny. But anyway, so you can use any kind of blower like that. And the trick is to have stuff that will flap in the wind, because they'll feel the wind, but it's better for the visual. And then we'll grab, you need some staff for this, but grab squirt bottles, just cheap squirt bottles, and fill them with water, and have the staff hidden, and squirt, cut them into that wind. So the kids, the storm happens, and especially if you have some sound effects, thunder, and we use strobe lights. You can get them at like Party City or whatever. Strobe lights going, so maybe the lights go dark, the strobe lights go off, sound effects happen, the fans come on, and you start squirting that, and kids are looking around, and they kind of get a drip in their face, like, whoa, what's that? What's going on? And so it's really neat. We'll do that for interactive, and a lot of times what we'll do is like, oh, we got to build shelter, and so everybody in the whole Sunday school is doing something. And so they're, we build a shelter, and maybe we'll go to the lesson from there or something like that. So that's a cool idea for effects. The other thing is using lighting. Lighting can be a powerful tool. It gets a little bit more expensive. You can get some cheap stuff off of Amazon. I've used, there's some lights, they're called thin power lights that you can get from Guitar Center. And they're about this thin, they're about this big around. They can change into several colors. But you can use those to get a lot of different effects, and it's really cool. I think that's about it. We got any questions really quick? Questions? Any idea questions?
We've done dowels. We put material on it, and we've done storms, and like just have people start from the front, in the middle of the section, and we just run over it with water, and so it looks like the waves went over their heads.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. What is it though?
It's just you can use like a thin plastic, or you can use material and just put it on a dowel rod.
Yeah, that'd be
then,
good.
or if it's really long, depending on how big your class is, that you can run over this. Each person holds onto it on either side, and you just run. And if it's not super long, it just.
Yeah, that's cool. That would be really neat for doing an interactive parting the sea.
Yeah.
You could do that. You could have all the kids there and have it's maybe sitting there. They could be on each end and then part the sea. That'd be neat. That's really cool. Yeah.
We've got a jungle theme right now.
A jungle theme?
Yeah, with like vines hanging down.
That's good. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the Garden of Adam and Eve. There's animals everywhere, just
that's
kind
cool.
of hanging from. There's monkeys hanging from the vines, and then we have a lion in the back. There's like a little stand, just kind of chilling back there.
Oh yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. Another thing that is not really set design, but it's definitely worth mentioning. We use it 100% of the time. 100% of the time, because we use tracks. So sound effects, either music tracks and or sound effects. Like I played for you earlier, we use a program called QLab to run it. QLab is Apple-based, so it only works on Mac, but there's other things you can use. But and then I subscribe to a place that you can get that kind of stuff. It's for like movie tracks and that kind of thing. The one I subscribe to is Epidemic Sound, I think. But that's a big thing, is like you were just talking about the jungle. If you have all that decor and it looks awesome, now you add some sound that goes along with that, man, it makes a big difference. And then we have a lot of tracks that are appropriate for what's happening in the script. The bad guys come on and it's like, bam, so it's scary or whatever. Or, so we have those kind of things, or funny, so that's a big thing with themes is having tracks. Okay, I think we're out of time.